Hello, this is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to be casing a card by Alicia from Call Me Crafty Al, and I'm going to be using this Gorgeous Girl. It's the only one I have. It's Gorjuss. They just spell it funky. I actually received it as like a free gift add-on. Somebody I purchased from Etsy a couple times. She always throws in like extras. So I have all my cardstock pieces cut out. That smaller piece here is actually Bristol Smooth because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring with a Zig Clean Color real brush marker and a paintbrush. And then this is just regular like Michael's cardstock, and I'm going to stamp her with Memento Tuxedo Black. And I was testing Copic colors, so I'm going to be using those 3 colors. So this is for Inspired Saturdays, a collaboration with Call Me Crafty Al, and she is going to do something inspired by one of my cards. So I'm going to link the video of the card. She made several cards. I only made one. A video of what she did that I am casing here down below. And go ahead and subscribe to her if you like what you see. And spread the love. So here I'm actually going to make the mistake of stamping this twice, because either the paper moved or it just isn't meant for that. It's a very intricate stamp. It was kind of hard to see on screen, but it was kind of like double vision looking. So I just flipped it over and decided to only stamp once, which was plenty. I just wanted it darker, but not if it was going to be blurry looking. So now we're going to color her in. It looks better than the other side. Sorry if you heard some noise. I think that was an airplane, which we don't hear many of right now. That was kind of loud. So I am using the 3 Copics I just showed you. And I hadn't planned yet for the ribbon or what's like under the top of her dress or the bow in her hair, but I end up finding a color for that. So I am just shading. I don't know, this is like a dress, but it almost looks like it's like a top coat or something. And then I was going to do like an every other color on her socks, but then I just decided to do the same gradient blend that I was doing up above. And then right above her socks is going to be her skin. That's kind of how it was in the picture, so I just went with that. I think the image that on the back of the stamp is maybe a little better than it stamps out, which is fine. This is still cute. So then I'm just blending out everything and going over all of it to make sure it blends a little better with BG11. That's my favorite light teal for teal color combos. And these stamps are pretty cute. I might look into getting a few more of them. Not trying to like collect them all or anything, but get some other cute ones. But the only thing that throws me off is they don't have like a nose or a mouth, which I don't know. I could probably get over it. Then I don't have to worry about smearing ink on other features. My Copics or any alcohol markers have been kind of smearing if I go over my black ink too much, which never used to happen. I don't know what I'm doing wrong these days, but I haven't changed anything. So I use the Fair Skin Blend and the new Tri-Blend markers from Spectrum Noir for her skin. And then I'm using a Cool Gray Copic combo for her hair. It was really, really hard. I didn't stay in the lines on a couple spots here. It was really hard to get just like the little wispy tip of her hair. But it's okay. It looked fine to me. So in reality, I was going kind of slow. This is sped up 2 times. So I'm just kind of going where I think shading would be. So any hair that's like touching the side of the face or the clothing, I'm just putting the darkest shadows there, if that makes sense. And then on the outer, I'm never going to be, you know, a professional Copic hair color. There are some people out there who are crazy good and make it look really, really real, which I admire. I just don't ever want to have to try that hard. I like the way I color hair for now. Maybe someday I'll get a little better at it, but that works. So that was the second. You can kind of see it when I turn it. That was the second shade. And then instead of going to C5, I didn't want her hair to look like too gray. It was trying to be black, but I also wanted to leave some of these texture lines. And if I had colored it with straight black, it would have like cleared those away. So I just kind of went over it again, and I only went from C9 to 7 to 6 instead of 5. And I just recently filled in some even numbers on my grays in my Copics, because I only used to have like the 9s, the 7s, the 5s, the 3s, and the 1s, and I never actually even had the 0s. And I just got all the N's, I think. There was a Copic sale. So now I'm using the Pale Pink Blend Tri-Blend marker. It's not too much of a gradient on this one, which is fine. You can still kind of see some shading with the dark one. Then once I'm done blending, I go over the like the dots on her dress with the dark, just to kind of help those stand out. But I actually go over them with my Nuvo, I'm going to call it glitter glue. I don't know what they call it. I'm sorry. Nuvo glitter something. I'll show you the bottle in a minute. And then I just color in her shoes, and I actually kind of color too much right about there. But oh well. Too much out of it to match her hair, just to kind of make that color pop down there as well. So I just used C9 and C6, just 2 markers, since it was such a small area. So now I am going to cut her out. I will not make you watch that. So I just paused while I did that. So I'm going to set her aside. It was very hard to cut out her hair, and I went very slow, so you would not have wanted to watch that. So now I have just the piece of card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So rather than doing this to like the card base itself, I wanted to leave the card base alone and then just have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of cardstock I could do this to, and then stick it down to the base. If you watch Crafty Alicia's video down below, you'll see that she did this effect, very similar to what I'm doing here, on her card with an embossing folder. And rather than go into where I keep my embossing folders, which is kind of tucked away at the moment, to see if I even had one like that, which I don't think I do, to be honest, I just instantly, when I see this on a card, I instantly think of just using your scoreboard. So what's good about this, and what makes it easy, is that if I have to move it along, I can just scoot it and the grooves will pop right into wherever you put them. And I'm just doing every other one here. So you can just feel the grooves that you're making and kind of scoot the paper along if you need to, so you don't, mess up the evenness of it. So here I was debating, since this was technically the back of the piece of cardstock I cut, so you can tell, like when you make cut lines with your paper trimmer, you can tell it's the back side versus the front side, just how the paper cuts. And I kind of like the look of the back side, but I didn't like that the paper was a little rougher looking on the edges, if that makes sense. So I stuck with the embossed lines being like puffing out on top. Plus the back of this would have been a lot flatter. So I put my tape runner, my adhesive, down on the card base instead. I didn't want to flatten any of the lines I had just made by running a tape runner over it. So I did that on the card base instead. And I hope you like my new desktop pad. It's like a faux leather, not real leather, big pad that I wanted to replace just because my background was kind of ugly. It was just the craft like sheet. Anyway, I didn't like it, and I love teal, and so it's kind of like a green turquoise teal. Although this marker, Zig marker, is called green turquoise or turquoise green, so I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to call my background teal. But this pad is also kind of like, it's a little squishy, so it actually is really good for stamping. If you just want to stamp straight onto a piece of paper, you have that kind of padding beneath it that you would get in like a Misty stamp platform or anything like that. Or a foam pad from like Stampin' Up, things that you put under your paper. So it's kind of like built in. So I laid this on my desk, and I did want to make it permanent on my desk. And so I actually used the same tape runner I'm using right here. And I lifted up the edges, and I ran like 5 lines of tape runner just along the ends and stuck it down so that it doesn't move on my desk. And it was curling only a little bit. I was impressed with how little it was actually curling. I was just going to set books on it, and then I realized that I could just stick it down with tape runner and it would be flat, and it's not moving. So it should be a fairly permanent fixture. And hopefully you like this background, because it will be in all my videos now. So if you want to go subscribe to Call Me Crafty Al's YouTube channel, she is going to be doing Inspired Saturdays with other crafters as well. I was just one of them. I think I'm the first one. And she reached out to me, and I said, sure. And so, yeah, it should be fun. Collaboration where you can learn about more crafters being inspired by each other's cards. So I'm using my sentiment from this new Classic Sentiments from Waffle Flower. And it says it coordinates with Classic Frames die. I didn't know that. But it's just new, and I don't have those dies, which is fine. I just wanted it for the sentiments. I got this one and the Christmas one. So I'm going to use the Hello, and I am going to heat emboss white. Now, when I melt this, I do it in the air. I'm not quite sure how my new desktop faux leather pad would handle heat. It's not like a silicone mat or anything where it can handle anything. I'm just kind of going with it. So I'll try not to melt things on it or spill glue on it. I'll be careful. I want it to look nice. And hopefully these shadows aren't too annoying. I think there's more shadows here than there were with like the craft background. That long pause you saw was my cat was next to me on the floor in my craft area, and he started to throw up. So I had to go move him because he was on my rug, and I was like, oh, you're not barfing on my rug. I'm not cleaning that up, because we have hardwood floors. So I just scooted him over to the hardwood, and then I had to come back and pause while I cleaned it up and then came back. It's super gross. I'm sorry I told you that. But his sister has been sick with like a cat cold, and she's sneezing, and she's on antibiotics, and he just started sneezing today. And then he just barfed, which is normal when he eats too much or has a huge hairball. She like never barfs, but he barfs all the time because he's a pig and he eats too fast, and he has many hairballs. So I'm not worried about his barfing. That's normal, but he's sneezing a lot. And so if he gets sick, then I'm going to have to get him medicine too. And it's a whole thing. But we got her the medicine because she wasn't eating. She's a very dainty eater already, and she was not eating at all. And cats, when they are stuffy and they can't smell their food because they're hunters, I guess, if they can't smell what they're eating, they won't eat it. He is more like a dog, whereas he'll probably eat whatever you put in front of him, whether he can smell it or not. So I'm not really worried about him. But if he does stop eating, we'll have to take him in and get antibiotics. And she was very expensive, so I'd rather not have to take him in, but I don't think they'll prescribe us something without doing that, so we'll see. So I'm just taking this down. You can see the kind of similarities to her card in her video below, if you watch that. She made a lot of them. I really like the ladies that she used on hers. They were kind of pre-die cut ladies, but this is the only like person stamp I could think of that I had. So I'm just going to trim the edge, and then I'm going to grab my super secret banner maker, which is just a 1-inch square Stampin' Up! Punch. I highly recommend getting a little 1-inch. This is a good size, a 1-inch punch, and I almost punched the wrong end of this for just making really quick banners on cards, and it handles a good number of sizes of banners or strips that you can cut. Makes it very easy, so you don't have to cut it with scissors. I probably should have ended the banner a little sooner because it's kind of meshing with the black, but I could see the difference between the papers in person, so I guess it didn't bother me when I was looking at it, but now it kind of, I can't even see the banner over the other piece of cardstock. So I'm using the Nuvo glitter that I told you about. Glitter, it's like stickles, basically. If you have stickles, use that. Just to add a little accent to the dots here. And then just like on her card, I'm going to add some enamel dots from the Simple Stories Magical Birthday, which I ended up with like 3 of these because I love the gold and I wanted to stockpile the gold ones. But I decided to use the blues, which kind of matched my background. It's not quite turquoise as much as I thought it would be, but anyway. So that is it, and thank you for watching, and make sure you go down and watch her video below and subscribe to her channel if you like what you see. She is very awesome. And thank you for watching Inspired Saturdays, and I hope you stick around and watch more, and make sure you follow her, and I will see you guys next time on my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.